This is the Leadership in Insurance podcast, brought to you by FinPro Search Partners.
Insurance companies are businesses and they need to look for the long term and be sustainable.
We went from 0 to 1 and now it's going from 1 to 100.
Insurance as a concept, as a kind of service, is brilliant. The execution is what we're looking at now.
I think the companies that are going to succeed are the ones that are going to understand and master the art of intent.
When we talk about innovation, we lean too heavily to think about technology, and we don't think about creating a culture of innovation.
I think innovation is essentially continuous improvement of existing processes and platforms and product.
Right? It's got to be easy. It's got to be seamless.
Good morning and welcome to the Leadership and Insurance podcast. I'm your guest, Alex Bond, and we're doing a special sort of edition or run of episodes this time. We're going to talk about 2025 and review. Can't believe I'm saying that. Can't believe we're about to get into 2026. But kick things off, my good friend Johnny Valentine from I Love Claims, where he is claims tech lead, which is where we kind of do most of our chatting. Johnny, thanks for joining me. How are you?
I'm good, but you've just impressed me that it's the end of the year.
When
I got the email saying year in review, I was like, that's rubbish. You can't be a year in review already. Sophie's saying Merry Christmas, and yeah, it is December in 2 days' time. It is.
I've refused to say Merry Christmas. I'm just not getting into it.
I responded with something quite harsh.
Good. Yeah, I know. I think I cursed myself because I started the year and I went to Australia twice in the first quarter. So I think it felt like my year started in about 4 months in, and then I blinked and here we are. But here we are, and we survived and we're happy and well. So, well, I'm speaking for you there, but I'm hoping we are. Look, thanks for joining me. I Love Claims. We've been involved with a couple of years now as a team. Perhaps you could introduce. I mean, we've obviously talked about it before on here, but it'd be great to introduce what I Love Claims is, and then we can get into how that's played out for 2025.
Yeah, so ILC was something I came across first time in 2010, 2011, when I was at an insurer box, and they were entering the motor space, and it was kind of like these events for the claims professionals, like bring them all together to share best practice and a better tomorrow, I think is their motto. And it's nice because you go to some insurance conferences and it's very overwhelming. There's a lot of people there, and it's sale. And I really got involved. The ILC community is a great community where actually there's a camaraderie, and claims is always a kind of, I suppose, if insurance is the Cinderella of fintech, then claims is like the mouse. It's always forgotten about, and when actually it's the most important part of the insurance process, because I was at a conference yesterday talking about it. The reason why people have to buy insurance and want to buy insurance is when things go wrong, they expect to be looked after. And yet it's all the tech and all the cool stuff and all the focuses on underwriting and pricing. So yeah, ILC's been going now for 15, 16 years, but I've been involved as a member since 2010, 2011, both as an insurer and then with Finco as a corporate partner, supporting them as a supplier into the sector. Obviously, telematics is great for claims, so it was a perfect fit. And then most recently, kind of alongside, I've always felt that maybe there could be more involvement of tech into that claim space. Where you tend to find that claims is very much the tech comes from the service entities. A service company might create their own bit of tech for themselves, and then they start to sell that. So it's very incestuous in terms of it's very hard for an external partner to come in. And so, yeah, I've been involved the last few years with ILC, kind of trying to attract more tech companies into the space. So we've hence why you've been involved with Claims Tech the Pitch. 3 years in a row now, we've invited tech companies to come and pitch to insurers and how their software or their product can help in the claim space, whether it be something as simple as mailbox management or to determine maybe detecting vulnerable customers, or we've had people scan your garden and it'll work out if you've got any subsidence or roots, really even weird niche cases. And so, yeah, it's a great community. They raise lots of money for charity. They've got the Rainbow Trust, obviously. I think they've raised 1.4 million for over since they started. So yeah, that's ILC, and they're a really interesting group where it's like that focus on claims and doing the best for the consumer.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's a really brilliant organisation. It's a brilliant event, and I think it's the same I echo the sentiments of why it's relevant. I'm always gravitate towards like slightly smaller events, and look, I love the big events, and I love like and a good friend of mine that runs some of these big events, like ITI, ITC. But you can get lost in the noise, and even someone like me that's I'm a vendor, and almost anyone that's there is potentially a client of mine. Um, it just it's just a bit overwhelming, it's a bit overbearing, and you sort of lose that kind of community sense. And I think that's what ILC does really, really well. I wanted to sort of zero in on Claims Set the Pitch, shamelessly, because I think Sophie and I have nominated 2 years in a row the people that won, which
You've got a good record, but let's just confirm
no,
there is a very, very independent judging panel of insurers, of which Alex and Sophie are not judges.
no, I know, no, which is but honestly, it's funny now because we've got a fight off for if we can nominate one next year that
Well,
wins, which
next
yeah,
June, let's get
yeah, I
can
know,
you get the hat trick?
all to play for. But I wanted to zero on that and say we were looking at 2025 in review. You're obviously very close to this space. Just kind of want sort of any themes, developments, any things you've observed, or any just kind of commentary on what's happened this year. Because I think a lot has happened in claims related technology this year. It's like finally the market is caught up going, oh, this is, yeah, like as you said at the outset, it's the promise to pay is what you're paying for. Then why are we not investing in this section of the market? And there really is some sort of quite interesting stuff happening. But yeah, anything that's caught your eye or trends or themes in the space that you think are interesting.
I think it's getting more interest. So
Mm.
the reason why people have stayed away from claims is it's so messy. So yesterday I was at a property conference, and I've never really been exposed to property. But you think about like, so if you have a bit of your house is on fire, they then fire brigade come out. They use water to put it out. So you've got fire damage, flood damage. Someone then needs to repair your piano. The walls need painting. The electric's gone. And it's all so many complicated pieces and all that. There's no connection between any of these things. There was an insurer who was on a panel with me who was saying she's got so many customer portals. Like their customers have to log into about 12 portals just to work out what's going on with all the different parts of their property claim because there's so much data, there's so many connections, and all of the tech has always been on the front end because it's easy. Underwriting is just a spreadsheet or a series of spreadsheets with some the buckets and the multiplier, whatever it may be, and so it's quite easy to do technical things with maybe innovation. Whereas people look at claims and go, screw that, I can't get because the data is an attachment on an email that is uploaded as a file to a claim system that was built 25 years ago that is on a Windows SQL server that doesn't have an API. And it's so difficult to get that data. But you look at AI agents, so we've got now big players like ServiceNow who are focusing on the claim space, not the front end of policy management, but claims, because LLMs and these AI agents are great for interpreting unstructured, crappy data. And that's what claims data is. Claims is just a series of crappy data. Someone yesterday was talking about they got sent a fax from an insurer. Like I didn't even it's crazy. So I think that claim space now is starting to get now the technology is catching up where LLMs aren't the best, so they're not great. They're only one part, and you see that with Meta's chief AI officer leaving because he believes that the future of AI isn't LLMs. But for claims data, it's perfect. Look at this email trail and tell me what the hell's going on with a claim. And it gives you a nice, pretty two-line update. So it's really good to start seeing startups actually start to utilize that claims data because the tech allows them to do so. That's a big positive for me. And that's a good trend. Smaller conferences, I think, are getting better. I think there's more smaller niche conferences where actually there's more room for people to talk, whether it be Claim Set the Pitch, Insurtech UK is a smaller event. They're getting more popular every year, but they're still smaller events. I'm liking these smaller events, and I think it's giving a bit more. It gives the startups a bit more room to breathe, rather than you go to some of these bigger ones and the startups competing with 5,000 other startups to try and get the attention of a few hundred people in a room.
And I think that it's that message getting diluted as well. Like you're in a space where claims is perfect, right? You're going if you've got a technology that relates to claims, you're in there, and everyone in there is going to be either aware of the problem you're trying to solve for, or probably a buyer. And the other, you could be you could be put together as a group of like claims people, and I've seen seen some really good efforts on that on some of the bigger conferences. But these conference halls are like several aircraft hangars big, and you're sort of wandering around, and you go, couldn't find you if I wanted to find you as well. So you're sort of having the wrong conversations with the wrong people.
That's why I stay in the bar outside. You don't have to buy a
Yeah,
ticket. It's everything.
I love the guy. Who's the founder of NetJets? I can't remember his name now, but he's got a story. He's got a story of when he was launching NetJets. He was trying to sort of get him into this conference where there was all these people that he knew would use private aviation, and he couldn't be. He noticed everyone was going for a coffee across the road at the Starbucks and was buying a donut every morning. So he just went across the Starbucks, bought every single donut, and then as these people went in and turned them down, he'd go, "Oh, can I have a chat with you?" And
Nice.
got a free donut. But
Okay.
but yeah, I love a conference hack. But no, I agree with you on the small conferences. Just on the going back to the claims, the rise of the claims like automated TPA.
That's going to be the TPAs are taking over Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a cynical mind to it where I'm like, people are sort of there's a lot of promising happening, and I'm going, what's really happening? I'm basically trying to unpack what's really happening here. I feel like it's basically you're building a TPA, but just with a modern tech stack. So you've got no legacy. So
Yeah.
you've got better tech, but you still, people are going, it's a tech company. I'm like, well, they've got 200 claims handlers, so I'm not sure how techy it is. It's. I don't know. I don't know if I'm helping
I think that's
citizens.
what they've realized though, is that if you want to go, if you offer an insurer your claims platform, they go, oh no, we've got to use one of these big players, or we've got to go for an RPA, and it's the whole IT procurement system. And I had a chat with one of these newer TPA, and they realized, but if they sold themselves as a TPA rather than as a claims platform, it was a
Yeah,
totally different procurement process, and it was much easier because it was based on rates. Because they don't care how you do it; it's based on your rate, and they can use their modern tech platform, their tech stack, using it AI first, however they may do it, and they can make it more efficient. So
yeah,
it got them round the barrier of IT procurement. And it was purely they were competing based on price, but rather than integration time, all these kind of things. And it made sense. Obviously, there is still that always argument of we see lots of tech people try and come into the insurance space over the years. Obviously, Google tried when they bought Beat That Quote. God, must have been 10 years ago now, or 12 years ago. Obviously, Amazon have tried with their marketplace. We've had tech companies come in trying. Salesforce obviously tried to come in big, 5 years ago to become the insurance platform. It's a hard market to crack if you're not insurance first. But the fact
yeah.
that these companies are tech companies, but showing themselves as insurance entities, or well, not insurance entities, but like regulated entities. It might work. It's interesting. Look, Y Combinator. It's great to see Y Combinator getting insurance companies in there, well, or insurance claims companies. It's cool to see. It's not you don't know normally that's about. I think they've got these mini nuclear submarine engines in there at the moment and launching satellites into the sky, and then you've got a TPA in there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, but it's nice. It's interesting to see how they've got around that procurement process. Screw it, we'll just sell ourselves as a TPA. It's much easier.
I mean, obviously that touches on things that are close to my heart. Well, claims is always that close to my heart as I bang on relentlessly about. But looking at the makeup of these teams, what I found interesting about the TPA space was seeing like non-insurance people come into space, building tech, and then building a TPA. Now, I'm not saying they can't do it. I'm not saying they won't do it well, but it was like really reflective of like that deluge of money that was about 4 years ago, where huge amount of investment. It was all distribution at that point, and it was like tech Silicon Valley folks saying insurance is broken, we're coming here to fix it. Um, and none of that went particularly well. And then you saw this maturing, and you started to see the blend of the founder teams being much more insurance and technology. So there'd be like a sort of head from the insurance space and then a head from the technology space. And I find it interesting that we're seeing these TPAs that are purely from a tech perspective. Obviously not all. I mean, we had Grace Hansen from Elysium on, and Grace has got this like incredible pedigree in the insurance industry as a really senior, well-respected claims professional. She's building the TPA she would have wanted to use with
Yeah.
with the modern tech stack. So Yeah, I just find it strange that we're sort of like this cyclical, like, oh, we forgot that you needed these insurance people in these tech
It's
businesses.
yeah. Well, what's it? There's no such thing as the future. It's just the history repeating.
Mm.
It's just a different product. It started off
Yeah.
with MGAs, and where the focus was pure revenue. I'm not. Don't worry about the loss ratio. That's one for tomorrow. And then okay, we do need some insurance people, and maybe it would be the same for some of these TPAs where actually we need more insurance people. The problem is that there's only so much tech you can throw at something.
Yeah.
Like you can have people say, no, we want bums on seats, humans are the best. And then people who say, nah, AI can do it all. It's a blend. It's about almost turning your claims handlers into Iron Man or Iron Heart. So you want to make them bionic so they can do as much as possible rather than try and do one or the other. Every conference you go to every year, they talk about how do we change the claims journey. And it's not changed. Like
Mm.
the yesterday, someone said 12 years ago, it's on the topic. He brought out this brochure which said the topic was how do we use tech in the claims journey, and it's 12 years later and it's on the agenda again. It hasn't changed. Because the claims journey, people want to talk to a handler sometimes. If your car's on fire, you want to, and you're in the middle of nowhere or stuck on the M1 like I was yesterday, day before. Luckily, I
Yeah.
fixed it myself, so I didn't have to call DAA.
Yeah.
You want you want someone to support you. You don't want a chatbot saying, "Oh yes, we'll get you covered." I had to book something the other day, and I still find it incredible. I booked something the other day, and I got a notification from WhatsApp, and I started talking to it, and it was like, "Oh yeah, sure. What's your budget? Yeah, okay, we'll book you in for 11 a.m. on Saturday. Is that good? Yep, perfect." I got a call a few hours later from someone who worked there, going, "Do you want to go through what the bot said?" I went, "What do you mean?" "Oh, well, that was a bot earlier." I thought, "Oh, well, I booked to come and have a look at it on Saturday at 11." No, you haven't. It sometimes makes things up. So can we start again and go from the top? Like we know it's not full, and this is a really, really big company, and they
Yeah.
basically have to call up after every interaction this AI WhatsApp bots had because it's just making stuff up. It's booking appointments that it's not doing anything with. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's a simple fix, right? That's rolling out tech that's not ready, that's not fit for
But
purpose.
that's
And,
the
and
I
I
think
think
that's people are so keen, like whether it's especially with investment raisers at the moment. So many investment raisers. Obviously, ESG is a big one, but also, are you using AI yet? I'm not. If anyone's raising money, that's the question being asked. Is that right? How and so people are doing anything just to say they've got it. Yeah, we can tick that box, but it's not
yeah.
ready. Like,
I have talked about this a couple of times. He's got the money in the bank now, so what you won't mind me honest about. My friend had a business-to-business loans company, and they built a bot like you're saying, but basically it never resolved to anything. It would always say, "Oh, it's a much more complicated loan than we expected. You have to speak," and all you'd actually done is fill out all the information that they needed. So it's the
it's
first.
form. Yeah.
I mean, it's clever because you basically the first 10 minutes of any phone call they'd covered off in a bot, so it wasn't actually a waste of your time. But it then got sold as a fintech because it had that.
There you go.
It's brilliant, and that's the thing that I'm skeptical about with some of the claim stuff with the TPA stuff particularly. I'm going exactly to your point. You're also going to get different insurers want different things from you. So if an insurer is particularly high touch and they want to seen as you know a higher quality product, a higher quality service, they're going to want more bums on seats for more people talking to the claimants. But the thing that amazes me about claims is I remember claiming think via Tesco on my car and there'd been some damage and it was as simple as filling out what had happened, take some photos, send it. Payment was almost automated. That was probably 5 years ago. And I don't think a lot of the rest of the kind of like claim space has caught up. And I know that's a very simplistic claim, relatively speaking, but just the slickness of that process. And I even align that across other lines. Like, I've had some health problems recently. So trying to sort of claim for a booper, I can't believe how much is, oh, you just booked something, but then you have to phone us for an authorization number. And then you have to phone us back. And I'm going, what is this? Like, this is an insane setup. But, is that a result of, you know, is it just there's so much legacy in these businesses that they can't evolve past it? And is that potentially where the TPAs have a window of opportunity because they've got no legacy tech, so they've got this, they can build this tech process that's tech adjacent and with the right people that
Yeah.
a company can't do.
So the analogy I always use is the one that I got told about with Tesco shopping. When Tesco online shopping launched, it looked all smooth and everything like that. But in the back, people were just printing off pieces of paper and running around, which is, I suppose, similar to what they actually do now, because that's ended
Yeah,
up being the best way of doing it.
yeah,
But it was a really efficient front end, but it was an absolute shit show on the back end.
yeah,
But it was making it work, so it's like a swan. Um,
yeah,
and I suppose the TPAs have got the ability to do that, build a really slick front end, build a really slick user journey. But actually, on the back end, there's so many suppliers. Let's say, even if you look at motor, for example, especially if you're looking at cross sector, and
yeah,
especially if you go into motor and home, well, or property of any kind, commercial, if you've got a jewelry replacement service, for example, that's quite unique, and someone's had their jewelry stolen, so you need to get. They're not going to have an API that you can plug into. They're not going to have a system. You might have to call them up an email, and then same with the temporary property. I was chatting to someone yesterday. They worked in corporate, like corporate travel. So they give you a portal, you book your accommodation, and then it's booked immediately. And their SLA is like 2 hours. They've moved into the insurance space, and they're saying the insurance company will email them, they'll respond, and then they'll chase up the insurer like 5 days later, going, "Are you wanting this temporary accommodation or not?" And it's like, well, there's probably there's someone waiting for a temporary accommodation there, but insurers, it's all done via email, and they've got obviously they've got a huge workload, and that's just the way they used to work. And so yeah, the TPAs have got the opportunity to do all the manual stuff in the back end, chase all these suppliers or whatnot.
mm,
Um, but then on the front end, offer a nice customer journey to both the insurer and the claimant. The thing that
mm,
solves it all will be open insurance. If you can, and I keep going on about it, but open banking changed the way that fintech turned into an actual thing. You think the likes of Monzo and Revolut all came about, and the fact that because of the open banking protocol allowing you to connect your bank, the fact we can transfer money so quickly these days, there's no back transfer. It's all done through open banking. The fact that you can transfer money to a wallet for your Coinbase to then buy your Bitcoin, it's all immediate, and they all talk the same language. They have a schema of what a banking of what an account looks like and of what a transaction looks like.
mm,
We have that in insurance or in claims. Then you can start to plug people in, and then you can start to automate, and the whole issue of 20 portals disappears. Um, it's and then it starts to bring that more Amazonification of the claims journey, so that actually you don't have to have an authorization number. There's an endpoint which is Bupa calls, which get authorization. So I've just had a customer book something with me. Bupa, are you okay with it? And it just returns it back, but it's all standardized across it. So Bupa don't have their own, and Nuffield don't have their own. It's one system.
yeah.
But we're not going to get that because it's insurance.
No, I thought that I had one of these moments yesterday where I still like to sit back and marvel at some of this stuff. So I needed to set up a new pension for directors limited company pension thing, and so I was setting one up. I sat, and I won't lie, I was in the pub. I was in the pub. My accountant went, "You need to set this up, and you need to be able to do it by Sunday." So I was like, "Right." But I opened a pension in the pub in 5 minutes and deposited the money from three different accounts and set up a direct debit at the same time. And you go, that is remarkable. Like that's extraordinary thing to be able to do. And it's amazing that some of this stuff hasn't caught up on the insurance side.
It's just needs
Yeah.
a push. Needs a push from and at the moment there's no need or no one to push it because everyone's happy with the status quo.
Mm. But I think that's why you've been really smart on the tech side of the pitch. Was what I liked about what you've done is look at that value chain, and I think that does come from people like yourself being involved and knowing what that looks like. So as you sort of said, like email triage tools, things like that, where it's like, look, we're not going to change the fact that everything sits on email, but if we've got something that's kind of helping that be triaged and kind of automate,
You look at
reading
Symphony.
PDFs and putting that information into kind of like a summary document is that's where the wins are, and
You
I
look
think
at Symphony, who won? Symphony
yeah,
was like what they were offering was it trained your staff. It was an
yeah,
AI staff training. It was right. We'll take all of your call logs. We'll take all of this, and what you can build. You can train your staff how to talk to a third-party engineer or a third-party, or you can take your really, really awkward calls that you've been someone almost cried because of how bad the other person was, load it into their system, and that becomes an AI. That's not getting rid of agents. That's
no,
not. It's actually using AI as a way to going back to my point of Iron Man, Ironheart, to like make them better and bionic. So oh, there's no sitting in a room with a colleague doing a script of this. Actually, it's real experiences, and you can then train off that. And I really like that because that was a way of using AI to go, look, you're not going to get rid of handlers in the claims department, but let's do what we can to make them better. Let's bring that level up and use tech to kind of improve the quality of your average claim handler when they start working. I really like that, and that exactly is that using the tech to improve the value chain. No, you can't rip it up from scratch because the claims journey is the claims journey. Someone has to report a claim. Someone has to either triage it, look at it for fraud, pay it, or fix it. They're your different. You can't, right, we're going to redesign the entire process. It doesn't work. Obviously, people are talking about OpenAI and obviously you can now pay for things via ChatGPT. Will that change? Will you ask your ChatGPT to come find me a policy for my car and it goes off and does it? Probably not. I don't think, maybe not. But
I think the cultural shift on things like that is amazing. Like the amount of friends I've got that have like asked ChatGPT things like they like about personal questions like, do I think this person's being honest with me? And they've like laid out, and I'm going, you really putting that in there? And
well, OpenAI got hacked. I got an email yesterday from OpenAI. They were hacked. Like they had a
wow,
breach, and they were
yeah,
like, "Don't worry, not your user data hasn't, your user activity data has not been exposed, but your organization data will have been. You may be phishing, you may be attacked in a phishing. People may come after you for phishing now." And you're like, yeah, that's now become people. That's people's business mentor. It's their CFO. It's their tax advisor. It is their kind of legal representative. It is crazy how the reliance and yeah, the amount of companies. And that's the weird thing I'm seeing that from this year. If we talk about trends, going back to the topic of 2025,
yeah,
the amount of companies that are actually just wrappers on whether it be ChatGPT or Gemini, that their
yeah.
product is just a prompt onto the ChatGPT ecosystem. I find scary because what that means is that if OpenAI decide to put up their price because they realize that we've got the market now, let's triple our pricing. You as a business are suddenly exposed because crap, we've got to pass that pricing on, and you won't be able to because you've got fixed contracts in place. Probably you can't tell your client that we're just an OpenAI wrapper. And yeah, I think that's interesting to see the amount of companies that are actually relying for their core product now on OpenAI. Then not just going into insurtech, going into many different sectors where they're selling themselves as an AI insurance, but it's not. It's just a wrapper over this other product. And it's going to be interesting how that goes. But obviously, as OpenAI and Gemini change their pricing, or they go down and your product suddenly goes down. At the moment, we'll see the entire world grind to a halt when AWS went down a few weeks ago, and then Azure a week later. We're going to get to the same when one of those OpenAI goes down. So like, oh shit, my AI bot doesn't work. My therapist has stopped responding to me, and because you're
Yeah.
using a therapist service that actually is just built on OpenAI.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in my space, I mean, I probably get well at least 2 or 3 times a week. I get given some AI recruiting tool, and they're all a skim over one of those products, and they're good. Like some of these things are really good. They're useful tools, but I was asked to invest in one, and I said no. And as a friend of mine, he said, "Look, why?" And I said, "Because the unit cost of that is going. Two things are going to happen. Either they're going to start doubling their prices, as you said, so it's going to become like really difficult for you to constantly put up your prices because the customers won't take that. Or the other way, it's very publicly, it's getting cheaper and cheaper and better and better. So your cost has to keep going down. So like you've got a you've got a product that's you've got to sell a volume that you can't do to get ahead of the game. So I said either way, it's a bad investment from my point of view.
You can
Yeah,
build one
so
yourself.
well, yeah, I mean, there is also that as well. I mean, this person had built one. So no disrespect, if you managed to build it, you're a really good recruitment professional. Some other really good recruitment professional, myself included, could go and build that. So why would you? Just to wrap things up, Johnny, we're at time. When do entries open for the tech event? When should people be paying attention to that and putting
So
themselves
this year's a bit different. We've gone all World Cup. We're doing semi-finals. So we had so many amazing entries last year, and we had to get that down to a short list. So this year, entries opened last week. The final will be in June, but what we're going to do this year is we're actually going to do semi-finals with judges again, not Alex and Sophie choosing theirs, in April. And so yeah, it's going to just to give, and that gives more of these amazing ones that maybe didn't quite make the shortlist last year more of an opportunity. So they'll be web based. Anyone can join and watch. The judges will be voting, but that'll be free to anyone to come and see what's going on. Yeah, it's just a different way of doing things to give a bit more exposure to the companies that were so close to making the final last year. And then yeah, the final will be in London. Kennedy's are going to host us again, which is fantastic. Obviously, that's an amazing venue. But also, I think we've already got 25 of last year's judges have already signed up. So all the judges are obviously senior execs from insurers only, who obviously are wanting to use or buy or invest in these products. So yeah, it's great to see we've got such a high return rate on the judges already, and we're not even into 26 yet. So no, looking forward to see. So again, it's open to any startup that's either in the claim space or not in the claim space, but thinks would be valuable. And it should be a really good event.
Amazing. Johnny, pleasure as always. I hope you fixed the cars and there's no more car drama. But thank you once again for being a big supporter of the business and a big part of our team here in 2025.
Thanks for having me.
I'll probably see you before 2025 ends, but if not, I'll see you in 2026.